Right, good morning. And good morning, Ross. I'm just going to restart the hearing. How are you this morning?
Hi there. Well, we can't see you, but anyway, you can hear me.
Absolutely. Look, so, Ross, how I'm going to do it, you've got 5 minutes. I'll time 4 minutes, then I'll give you let you know you've got a minute left. So if you wanted to wind up and ask any questions, please do. And we will go forward from there. Is that okay with you?
Yep, okay.
Thank you very much. So, Ross, we are in your hands.
Okay, well, I'm speaking from being a neighbour of this proposed centre, living in Euphrases Drive, and I just feel that this whole thing's been terribly rushed. The public knew about it was on the 11th of February, and it was in the paper, etc. And I noticed on here that one of the board members, Steve from the Netball, and that said that Stephen Barr had hoped that construction would start, etc., etc. And one of the big challenges was the number of people in the area. And he said there'll be a lot of people in one place at one time. I'm sure the city council will have that under control. So they sort of were aware of obviously the traffic issues, and obviously it's been brought up prior to me watching this morning. So I probably won't need to run over that. My other concern is the consultation process hasn't been that good, I didn't think, for something that is so dramatic as this. I mean, we got just a thing in the post that gave a brief outline of what this is all about, and I see on the council report there was only 40 of these given out. So that's not a lot of people to advise of this particular thing that's proposed. And also they just put a little small sign up on the site that probably you people may or may not have seen that doesn't really warn people of the consequences of traffic, the immensity of the size of this thing. So that's one issue. So we won't carry on with that because we haven't got time. And the other thing is I'm concerned about who is Netball. It's a private company, and why the council would be wanting to lease reserve land that's sacred relatively to a private company to run it as a business as such, because that's what they're going to be doing, because they need money to make it run. It's not being council owned like the rest of the facilities there. And if it runs into trouble, who's going to pick up the tab because it's on council land? That's another problem. And there's also 9 courts going in the new metro centre that's being built at present. And I had a picture of that, but I can't show you. But there's a bulk of 6 courts, and then next to that another 3. So there's already 9 courts that are for netball being proposed, or not being proposed, they're being built at the moment because it's in the plan. So there's going to be a conflict. I can see a conflict between Netball running this facility that needs to make money and utilising the metro centre, which is run by the council, so it doesn't have to make money, because if it's not being used, it doesn't matter. Where this centre being private has to make money, and it's got shareholders. And also notice that Christine Roder, who is one of the submitters on this, she has not declared her a conflict of interest. She's also going to be one of the directors of this company, I've noticed. And as far as money, I mean, who is the secret benefactor that's putting all this money in? Does anybody even know? Plus, they're going to have a $5 million loan. So obviously that's huge amount of repayments, and then they're going to try and find $5 million of funding. So my concern of it doesn't sound a very good business case at all. So that's another reason why I don't think the council should be even, looking at this particular thing. And then we go on to the council report and how the commissioner in your council town planner can actually issue, or not issue, but it's advise on a resource consent and say that this is, the thing with a consent, a resource consent, as you're aware, it's to be no more than minor. And all through that report that I've read, it's everything was no more than minor, and however that could possibly be, this huge mass of this, traffic, etc., is no more than minor, is just bewilders me. When they're only working on about 800 people to 1,000 the odd time, and I think those numbers are probably pretty conservative. And also the intersection at Augustine and the Hallsville Road, that's going to reach capacity in 2028, and that's without all this. And don't forget, though, I see in the paper yesterday, Netball are going to want to bring all their facilities from Higley to this facility now. I don't know whether you're aware of that, but that was in the paper yesterday. And also, there was quite a few misinformation, I feel, that this, on the staff comments on pages 9 and 10 there.
1 minute.
Where, 1 minute, okay. Where basically, this thing is going to take off 2 fields where there were 4 fields. Then that thing it said it only had 1. And then there was a comment about how they would, the close to the resident, I can't find it now. The speeding vehicles, they basically said that the facility with the vehicles speeding, that they're basically saying there's going to be so much traffic, there won't be speeding vehicles. And finally, I just want to sum up in saying that I don't see how the council could possibly consider leasing land to a private company. And also, there is also land that the council own on the Wigram Road. There's council land there that would be quite adequate for this. And it's beside the motorway between Musgroves, the Wigram entry and Wigram Road. There's a big hunk of land there that would be much more suitable for this, that wouldn't affect the neighbours in such a way. Because that's my big issue with it. So all I'm asking is that when you consider this, you take into account the neighbours, all the residents, and would you people also want this to be in your front yard because of the size of it? And also the other thing is they want to run this thing 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night, 12 months of the year, 7 days a week. So, and also they want to sublease it.
Thank you, Ross. Thank you very much, Ross. We're out of time, but I will ask my colleagues if they have a question for you.
No, thanks.
No questions? Thank you very much, Ross, for your time this morning and making the effort. Very much appreciated. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, mate. Cheers. Bye now.
Cheers. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning. So I can't see anybody on the screen, so I'm just steering myself. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be seeing anyone.
Okay. Just to let you know, you've got 10 minutes. What I'll do is at 9 minutes, I'll give you a heads up. You've got 1 minute left if you want questions, etc. from the panel. Is that okay? And this morning, you've got obviously me as chairing the panel. You've got Councillor Anne Galloway and Councillor Melanie Coker. So.
Okay. And I've got a slideshow as I understand it. I can't see the slideshow on my screen, but I'll get to it in a second. Can I just start? Thank you for having us. Appreciate that. And just with the comments that were made by the last gentleman that was on there, I have to tell you that he is absolutely bang on the money on a number of things. Just a quick bit of history. I spent 7 months proactively trying to empower or find a way to get this building built within the agricultural park so that we could have it as part of the show, and obviously that got taken away by a secret meeting between council staff and Netball and Christmas without any notification to the Canterbury AMP Association. But because of those 7 months of negotiations, I have an intimate knowledge of what's going to go on and how this building's going to be built, and everything that gentleman just said is on the money. Right. Tim, can we just, if we look at the images, what I've done is on the screen an aerial photo of the show on Friday afternoon, and I've highlighted in purple on the right the space that you're going to take up by building this building, and the space on the left that's highlighted in green is another area that I want to explain to you and why it's important. So the first thing to note with this is that we're at capacity, and because of the development of Punawai, we can't take any more cars, and last year we were probably 15% below previous years, just to do with the weather and sometimes the cycle of people coming through the show. So the idea that you're going to take away the substantial amount of car parking, it just blows my mind, if I'm honest. The process of getting to this point where I'm sort of staring down the barrel of a 10-minute presentation, and you're potentially going to, do something that will be another nail in the coffin for the show. It's sad, if I'm honest. I really feel sad that we're even at this point. So let's just quickly go through some history. Can we flick to the next slide, if we may, please? So this land here that's marked in green, this is part of the flood retention area works that we've done. So council staff, senior sport and rec staff came to me in 2014 or 15 and said, look, if we excavate the gravel from under this land, we will save the city $2 to $3 million on building the Napunawai Sports Hub. And I said to them at the time, look, we're happy to try and help the council save money, but we want to make sure that we can still use the space during the show. Their commitments to the Canterbury MP Association was clear. This would only ever flood in a 1 in 10 year event. And the outcome has been that the removal of gravel, the mining of the gravel to build Napunawai has left this land unstable. It floods at the drop of a hat. And if we have a significant rainfall of any kind of rain prior to the show, we can't use that area in green for car parking. So we're already deeply handicapped, and this whole problem hasn't been solved. So if you go and take more parking land and we have rain, we're done. And it's not rain on the day either, it's rain the day before. And it just breaks my heart to think that we're going to rush through this process and potentially create such an extraordinarily bad outcome for the city. I mean, the only city in the country that has an agricultural event of this scale, an event of this scale, inside their sort of four walls. So if we could flick back to the original slide, so I can just talk a little bit more about how that whole thing works. We are probably the only organisation in the South Island that parks 7,000 cars in a paddock in 3 hours in one day. And the ability to do it requires open spaces, and there is no planning that has been done by council or anyone to overcome this problem. The reality is that Netball were given a $10 million by a benefactor 7 years ago. And it took them 6 years before we were even having a conversation with them. And when they tried to rush it through with us, and we needed time, and I got all of our committees and our volunteers and our membership on board, and then it got taken away. And we weren't in an agreement, but I thought we had a way to go. And now suddenly the council and you, Tim, and Galloway and Melanie, you're all being forced basically to make a quick decision because you're at risk that the benefactor is going to take this money away from the city and spend it somewhere else. When in reality, Netball had this money for 6 years. And I guess the other thing that concerns us is we know that there are other options around the city. Council staff told us that last year, but it appears now that they've been taken off the table with no consultation with the wider community. So I'm interested in any questions that you might have for me around, how are we going to resolve this? We support, the Canterbury MP Association supports the creation of this building somewhere in the city, and we worked very, very hard for 7 months to do so. But this decision-making, this knee-jerk reaction to quickly put it in here is going to cause significant problems for us. So I'm interested, Councillor Scandrick, if what your view on this is.
Thank you, Jeff. Do you, Melanie or Anne, have any questions?
No questions from me, thanks.
Jeff, just at the start of the hearing, council staff said that they were working on an integrated traffic management and parking plan. Is that with you guys? Is that right?
I have had one meeting with Novo Group and council where we have explained how the site works. Nothing has progressed from that.
And the land along Wigram Road, is that going to be used for parking? I'm not quite sure.
Yep, we do use it for parking. If we have a big year, for example, we certainly do overflow into it. But it is a very dangerous and problematic piece of land for parking, simply because of the health and safety and the volume of traffic that has to come in through that entranceway. And mixing traffic with humans is difficult. Absolutely. We also, the land at Wigram Road, as agreed with councils, was to be developed to provide a sustainable income to support the show over the coming decades. Yep. And that, I guess, negates any of that work that we did together to create a sustainable way of funding the show in the future.
Just on a side note, with regards to park and rides, what work has been done there? Because it's sustainability for the future.
I've met with ECAN's CEO. I've met with Red Bus. I've had zero. I just can't get them to do it for a start. The second issue we've got is we're very different to a rugby game, Tim, where the rugby game starts at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and finishes at 5:30. So the buses are there, are ready to go. We're open for 3 days, and doing a spoke I guess, a hub and spoke kind of scenario means that those buses have got to run consistently for 12 hours a day for 3 days, and there's significant costs associated, tens of thousands of dollars that we don't have.
Yeah, I guess the question there is, like where can the city come in with regards to our sustainability policies and with regards to the importance of the show? So, and you're absolutely right, it would be a shuttle type system that would be needed over 3 days.
That's a long conversation. This is you're about to make a decision now. Yeah. And I think that's that whole scenario around you're making decisions before coming up with solutions, and it scares me. I'm terrified by this.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any further? Thank you very much, Jeff, for your time.
So.
Yep. Has he gone?
Thank you, Tim.
No, he's still there.
Are you there, Jeff? I thought you were going to say something.
Yeah, I am.
Oh, yep.
No, I was just going to finish off, Tim, with we worked extremely hard to try and make this work inside the agricultural park, and it saddens us that it's come to this, because we explained to staff on numerous occasions the effect this is going to have on the show, and I just have to emphasise to you enough. It's death by 1,000 cuts for us with these kinds of decisions.
Yep.
So appreciate you'll take the time to make your own judgments, and I hope you understand that what I'm saying comes from the bottom of my heart, and it's an honest assessment of a very complicated environment.
Thank you very much, Jeff, for your time. There's certainly going to be some questions at the end of this to staff, so thank you for your time. Cheers.
Right. Thank you, bye.
Good morning to the three of you.
Good morning. Good morning, Tim.
Well, just to explain, you guys have chosen to present together, so we're going to give you 20 minutes. We very much appreciate you doing that. So just to explain to those that are listening that you've chosen to combine your time, so instead of 30 minutes, you're getting 20, so we thank you very much for making that. What I'll do is at 19 minutes, I will give you a heads up. So if you want, you can stop and get any questions from the panel. Is that okay with you guys?
Yes, sure.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And I'll just explain. I'm Councillor Tim Scandrett chairing, and my fellow councillors Anne Galloway and Melanie Coker are on the panel this morning. And we are we're in your hands.
Awesome. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. My name is Stephen Barry, and I'll be speaking on behalf of the Netball Sports Centre Limited as the proposed lessee. Before proceeding, I'd like to extend our thank you to the council team involved in the lease notification, communication and hearing process, the council park and recreation teams for their guidance and for facilitating discussions with Netball and the Punawai Trust, all of those in support of the proposed lease and the Netball development. And finally, to those not in support, we acknowledge your concerns and respect the right to express them. I will comment specifically on the Punawai Trust and CAPA responses separately shortly. Some brief history to perhaps help clarify some of the misunderstandings that have come up this morning. Netball was established as a tax-exempt company by the Christchurch Netball Centre Incorporated, hereinafter referred to as Netball, and the No. 6 Federation of Football, incorporated hereinafter referred to as Football, is the vehicle to develop and own a 10-court indoor sports facility in Christchurch. That unique sporting collaboration began over 7 years ago when Netball was fortunate to be offered the financial support of one of New Zealand's wealthiest individuals, hereinafter referred to the benefactor who wishes to remain anonymous, but who was willing to purchase a parcel of land in Christchurch and build a 10-court facility and allow Netball to use it long term, with the only responsibility being to meet ongoing operating costs. Netball, recognising the need to ensure ongoing financial viability of this opportunity, approached football as a complementary user of such a facility, and the joint venture partnership came into being. Over the following 7 years, numerous sites were evaluated for purchase by the benefactor, but no suitable ones were able to be secured on acceptable terms. With the benefactor's continued support and agreement to a $10 million development contribution to Netball, we turned our focus to leasehold land opportunities in the city in December 2018. For much of 2019, Netball pursued discussions with the Canterbury Agricultural and Pastoral Association for the development to take place on land owned by the City Council that was subject to existing and restrictive long-term agreements with the Canterbury Agricultural and Pastoral Association. Under significant pressure from the Netball benefactors to conclude a transaction or lose their support to another project, we elected to commence alternative discussions with the council in respect to Ngāpunawai in December 2019. These discussions were able to progress quickly as the council had been involved and had an in-depth understanding of the Netball project, as they had been fully engaged during our discussions with Canterbury Agricultural Pastoral Associations. These discussions have in turn led us to today's hearing, which is a further and critical step in ensuring our benefactors' ongoing support of the project. In terms of the location, Netball now recognise Ngāpunawai as the best location for this development, and with the benefit of hindsight, regret not recognising this opportunity as early as December 2018. Significant time and cost has been incurred in reaching this conclusion, and the delays have now placed the benefactor support at real risk of loss to the city. The site at Ngāpunawai and Netball's co-location with a number of Canterbury's other major sports will further develop and grow the Ngāpunawai Sports Hub and further demonstrate how collaboration in sport and within the community can create genuinely world-class facilities. The specific location of the Netball building at Ngāpunawai was chosen to take advantage of existing services delivered to Ngāpunawai, the existing parking, and to ensure that the building was and felt connected to the rest of the sports hub by its users, and vice versa. The building and the costs and viability. The 10,000 square metre building, while acknowledged as large in size, has been carefully designed to be fit for purpose, but also to be sympathetic to the landscape, with the minimum building height and with materials, colours and landscaping to soften its impact on the site. It has met all of the requirements of the Resource Management Act, and a resource consent was issued on the 16th of April 2020. The project has been costed at $20 million and has been subject to rigorous evaluation and peer review. $10 million of this cost has been contributed by Netball's generous non-Christchurch-based benefactor, and $5 million by the Netball shareholders. The balance of $5 million of funding is targeted to come from the Lotteries Commission with $2.5 million and from a series of other sources. The independent feasibility done by the highly regarded RSL consultants supports the financial viability of the business, which will be underpinned by Netball and football as the two primary users of the facilities. They, like any other user, will purchase court time from Netball, creating sufficient income for it to operate successfully and to maintain the asset into the long term. In terms of the impact, beyond the impact on netball and football that Julian and Chris will comment on shortly, the Netball facility will, as a large quality indoor facility, offer enormous opportunity to other sports, community groups, schools, and other groups who seek the safety of a secure, safe, warm and dry space to grow and develop their activities. Netball will also seek to collaborate with other facilities in the city to ensure we can attract and deliver quality sporting and other regional and national events to the city. In terms of challenges, Netball acknowledges the concerns expressed by various parties about traffic, safety, traffic flows in and out of Ngāpunawai and car parking at peak usage times, but believe that the council is fully aware of this and has plans in place to ensure these challenges are addressed in the short to medium term, and to ensure this does not inhibit the success of Ngāpunawai as the city's premier sporting hub. We further understand this was always to be addressed by council as part of the growth of Ngāpunawai through the annual planning process. We believe the location of the Netball building will assist in reducing noise and light travel from the existing facilities at Ngāpunawai into adjoining residences, and the noise and light from the Netball building will be fully contained. As indicated earlier, we'd like to specifically comment on the Napunawai Trust and Kappa responses to the proposed lease. We are extremely disappointed with the Napunawai Trust's position. Despite our various attempts to reassure them of our desire to be a collaborative partner and to be supportive of the role of the Trust in managing Napunawai, however, they have shown themselves as either unable or unwilling to engage with us or to lead and embrace change and to see the opportunity associated with the addition of Netball's $20 million facility at Napunawai and the benefits it will bring to sport and the community in the city. Netball and football, to the contrary, have demonstrated their ability to collaborate in the interests of their sports and of the community, and this approach would form the basis of its participation at Napunawai. This will require leadership by the Trust, the Council, or a new entity charged with that responsibility in the future, and we would fully support them in that aim. We would also like to acknowledge Kappa's long history and the role it plays in the community and thank them for engaging with us during much of 2019. Having said that, we believe that Netball's occupation of the Napunawai site will benefit them in that it will be the catalyst for additional car parking, a second and permanent access to the site, along with various additional infrastructure, all of which will be available to the show in accordance with the agreement already in place with the Council at Napunawai for the Friday of show week. We believe this will assist the show in evolving to meet the challenges of operating successfully in the current environment. The Netball facility will be used 48 plus weeks of the year, 7 days per week, and by thousands of Cantabrians and visitors to the city. Its impact on the city, while different to that of the annual show, will be no less significant and arguably more so. In conclusion, we commend the Netball project and the proposed lease as an outstanding opportunity for the city and its citizens. Thank you.
Well done, Steve. Thanks. I'll jump in here now and just, I guess, talk about this as the opportunity from football's point of view. So I'm Julian Bowden, CEO at Mainland Football. And as an organisation, we have over 20,000 registered players across our region. Futsal itself is one of the fastest growing sports in the country. High school participation in the last 5 years has increased by 66%. And what we're seeing in futsal is it's a huge attraction for the youth, which is an important sector that I guess government is interested in. And I know the city council is too. How do we keep our youth more active? And futsal also shows strong support for females, with over 35% of players being female. So there are clear signals that from around the country that having good facilities helps not only grow the sport, but also improve the enjoyment of it. If we look to other cities that have good facility, Christchurch's numbers are about a third of the players in Dunedin and a half of the players in Wellington. And we believe this is 100% in line with the quality of the facilities that are available in the city. In Dunedin, the Edgar Centre boasts 21 courts, and the ASB Centre in Wellington has 12 courts. A 10-court facility in Christchurch will go a long way to addressing some of that imbalance. Like our friends in Netball, we see the facility being able to operate in tandem with the new Metro facility. This will allow us to bring major tournaments to the city. Neither facility could actually do that on its own. The initial 15 courts planned for Metro that's reduced to 9 has actually put limitations around its ability to attract national community-based tournaments. As an organisation, we're strong believers in collaboration and recognise the role in helping bring communities together for the common good. The work done here by netball and football, I believe, shows a great amount of forward thinking and putting the participant first. Collaboration is not about working for just a few. It should be focused on the whole community. And as you can see in our submission, there are many sports we can see as being potential users for this fantastic facility. It obviously includes the current sports at Napunawai. It should be noted that we approached each of those 4 sports for more discussions, and none of them chose to take up the opportunity. We should also note that the facility can be used for non-sport events as well. The design allows for the facility to host different groups. You could see sport on one side of the venue, and then a community event or group on the other side with its 6 and 4 design. Should this lease be approved and we become tenants in Napunawai, we would do so knowing our need to be part of a collaboration with the other tenants and recognise and adhere to the SMAP agreement referred to by the Trust. We've actually taken time to understand the SMAP agreement by meeting with the City Council and representatives of Sport Canterbury. We also recognise the importance of the local community who border the Ngāpunawa facility and will work with council and other tenants to address the concerns raised. So finally, on behalf of football, thank you for the time.
Kia ora tātou, Chris Roller here, speaking on behalf of Christchurch Netball Centre. I do want to start by clarifying that Christchurch Netball is actually not Canterbury Netball, nor is it Netball Mainland. Netball Mainland is the organisation that is responsible for the Tactics franchise team. Christchurch Netball is Netball New Zealand's accredited provider of all things community netball in Christchurch, and its duty is to provide the best experiences for netball players, coaches, umpires and supporters. The netball and football collaboration has been in place since 2013, and throughout this time the benefactor has remained on board, believing that a generation of young people in Christchurch have lost the opportunity to play sport at times and days that suit them in a fit-for-purpose, safe indoor environment. We all know active sport participation obviously assists wellness, mental health and general wellbeing of our young people. Sporting organisations' collaborations are being identified by Sport New Zealand as the way of the future, and this is a fine example of two groups leading the way and has certainly been applauded loud and long at NSO levels for quite some time. Here is a real opportunity. An indoor facility is paramount, particularly for netball. Deteriorating asphalt courts are hazardous in the winter and are often wet, slippery and icy. The courts are expensive to maintain, and our responsibility, even in the open space of Higley Park, is ours. These courts are also used by skaters, rollerbladers, cyclists, hockey players, electric scooter riders, Segway learners and graffiti artists cause ongoing damage for us. Netball is subject to wet weather cancellations, and last season junior netball was cancelled no less than 4 times, walking netball at least 6 times, and Saturday netball, all or part competition rounds, that is approximately 800 scheduled games, were cancelled over 4 Saturdays due to bad weather. We believe clubs and players deserve a full season. 2 surveys undertaken with registered members last year, Netball New Zealand's Voice of the Participant survey and Christchurch Netball's Future of Netball. Some respondents' comments included: player numbers will drop if we remain outdoors, deteriorating courts at Higley, the concrete is hard on knees and ankles, there's overcrowding and lack of space between courts for bags, spectators and umpires at Higley, lack of parking at Higley, traffic congestion, it's ridiculous. No flexible playing times during the week, Saturdays only is very restrictive. Following on from these surveys, we facilitated with club representatives a workshop where the themes from the Christchurch Netball survey were outlined and discussed at length. FAQs were then developed as a result of discussions with clubs and their members. Again, the majority, although some sad to leave Higley, believe the time is right for the sport to move indoors or get left behind in netball land. A feasibility study undertaken in 2015 confirmed the shortage of indoor sports facilities and recommended investigations continue to find a suitable venue for an indoor facility in the city. This shortage of court space was also evidenced in the 2020 study. As Julian has said, Christchurch Netball also sees the proposed facility as complementary to the Metro Sports facility. The 9 courts planned at Metro would be insufficient for community netball needs due to the demands on space from other sports during what would be a traditional netball season. We see Metro Shows Court being able to host the ANZ Premiership games, national and international events, whereas Netball Centre could host some secondary school and national age group tournaments. Here is an opportunity to have more sports events and visitors to the city more often. The move from Higley could also, over time, allow the return to green space of some old and deteriorating earthquake-cracked asphalt courts, particularly those closer to the hospital end of the complex. The move from Higley Park would alleviate major traffic congestion and issues on Higley and Morehouse Avenues and release space for parking in the Lincoln Road, South Higley Park area, where on a Saturday, approximately 4,000 people participate in netball. We do understand the apprehension of the Aidenfield residents regarding vehicle movements and car parking space, but we do also know that people bike and bus to sport, and we also know that ride sharing is alive and well with netball players due to current parking issues. Junior players in particular often arrive in groups in one car with one adult. We consider car movement numbers have been overinflated by some of the submitters. As happens in other models in indoor centres in New Zealand, Christchurch Netball would likely schedule games for young netballers after school, progressing to secondary school teams with adults playing after work in the evenings. We felt that younger teams could also become curtain raiser matches for premier, senior and men's games, and the younger players would love the opportunity to be courtside for those matches. Weekend competition options would also be available for teams on Saturday, and Sunday is likely to be reserved for representative and other fun and carnival events and tournaments. As a partner in Netball, Christchurch Netball sees this opportunity as a win-win situation for the community and sports codes, with increased opportunities for younger and older people to be involved in recreation and sport at what could be a nationally recognised sporting hub at Ngāpunuwai. Here is a great opportunity. We do realise that remaining in your comfort zone and the fear of change are our greatest enemies of success, and it is expected that there is an element in our society that struggle to see change as a positive. But again, here is an opportunity to make that change for netball and futsal and other sports and the wider community and people of Christchurch. Thank you. Ngā mihi nui.
Thank you very much. Now, are you all good for questions now, or have anything further to say?
No.
Okay. I've just got a few to start off, if I may. It was mentioned about the timing. How many sites were looked at prior to coming to this site? Just out of interest.
In terms of freehold sites, 4 or 5 seriously, a large number beyond that. In terms of leasehold sites, straight to the Canterbury Agricultural Park Association, parcel of land that was owned by council.
Thank you. The operating hours, people have mentioned, and thank you very much for just specifying how you look at staging the age ranges from early for younger through to the older ones and adults. I'm just wondering, with working in with other organisations that are using Ngāpunuwai and adjacent to like the AMP show, you've kind of explained that you are willing to work and want to work with the other codes with regards to if there was a national event, whether it's yours or one of the other partners, that you would be very keen to work in with that. Is that correct?
Yeah, listen, I think we recognise that from sitting down with Council and Sport Canterbury, working through the SMAP agreement and starting to understand the collaboration that happens there and how the sports work together, not to try and double book events. And actually, I guess that's about having a plan, isn't it? Sitting down and working that through. So very, very keen to do that, and very understanding of, what the facility already does and how we may fit into that.
And I guess specifically with the AMP show and show weekend, would you be willing to work in with the AMP show to mitigate their concerns?
We understand that on the Friday of show day, that the whole Ngāpunuwai site is made available to Kappa, and we would totally respect that.
Thank you. One final one. There are concerns with regards to disabled accessibility in Ngāpunuwai. Have you got that in the forefront of your mind with access to the parking area and also within the building?
Absolutely, as part of the design, yes.
Thank you very much. Anne or Melanie?
No, I'm fine, thanks. Thank you. I've got a few questions. One is about the parking. How much parking do you anticipate you may require from the car parks that are already at Ngāpunuwai, sort of at the busiest for the Netball Centre?
I mean, there will be overflow from the 113 park that form part of the proposed Netball lease. The degree of overflow very much depends on, things like car sharing, programming of the use of the facility, but there will be a degree of overflow, absolutely.
Okay, and I was wondering, there's the new Metro sports facility that'll be in town. Is Netball or intending on using any of those courts for games as well? Because the 10 courts at the proposed Netball Centre won't, they're not the same number as the 34 courts in Higley Park. So I was wondering if if you're intending on using Metro Sports at all.
We certainly would if the courts were available at the times that we need it. We're also very well aware of how difficult it is to secure suitable indoor court space, particularly in the traditional netball season. Currently, we operate out of Bishopdale YMCA on a Tuesday night and St Margaret's College on a Tuesday night for our premier matches. Ideally, we would like to have them all together, and are highly likely that if we could get the space, it was available at Metro, we would love to be able to take it into the Metro Centre.
Right, and one last question. If you've talked about other sports codes using the proposed Netball Centre, what arrangements would they be making with you to be able to do that, like in terms of booking and I guess sort of a fee maybe?
Yeah, the intention is that Netball will operate the facility for netball and football as the primary users, but there clearly will be other significant time available for other users, and they will purchase that as in the same manner that netball and football will. The pricing of that is being part of the business case being put together, and in terms of determining the viability of the Netball project. Some of those costings haven't, in terms of what will ultimately be the charge out to individual sports, hasn't been determined because the financial model has been premised primarily on, or viability primarily on, the use of netball and football.
Okay, thank you.
So financially, it stands on their use alone. There is substantial other space and time available, but how that will be charged is a matter that is to be worked through by the shareholders in due course.
Thank you. I've just got one final one. A number of comments have been made with regards to the placement or the where this is going to be with regards to central location. I know football generally is played all over the city. With regards to netball, Christine, you were saying that you're based in Bishopdale, but obviously the netball courts are in Higley Park. But for some in the city, that's obviously not central. What are your thoughts with regards to the ability of all participants to get to this site compared to, say, netball or, in football's case, other places? Or Netball, I suppose.
Well, two parts to that question, I think. The reason why we are running part of our competition indoors is at Bishopdale and St Margaret's College is because people playing at that level of netball are competitively being selected, obviously, for other representative levels of play, and as a result, they are required to play indoors. So we've had to take a whole grade away from the park on a Saturday and relocate them indoors. We've had no issues around people going to Bishopdale. They realise that that's the only option they have had to go. We've used Pioneer Stadium in the past. If that's where they have to go, that's where they have to go, and they're quite accepting of that. I do understand that for people that have been traditionally playing netball at Higley Park, it is a bit of it's difficult for them to get their heads around the fact that it's not all going to be in one place on the same day, that it would likely be across 6 days of the week. Totally accept that. But given that's what's happening in all the other indoor centres and netball centres in New Zealand, I guess it's just a matter of having to make that change.
Thank you very much. Any other comments on that from either the other two, Stephen or Julian?
I think I'd just back Chris up to say that the way sport is played now is going to change moving forward. People's time is not what it used to be. The ability to take in your physical activity at different times of the week will become paramount. So, I think we need to change. We need to adapt and meet the requirements of the participant. And I think one thing in this whole process is there's a lot of administrators are putting input into this. But actually, it's all about the players and the community and how they will get to engage in this facility. And I think that shouldn't be lost on any of us.
Thank you very
And
much.
could I just make one final comment in regards to something that the trust talked about? And Netball is fortunate to be in the position where it will have $15 million of capital to contribute to this venture, and therefore it's a fantastic opportunity for netball and football to own the asset, to secure the financial futures of those two sports into the long term. The business case clearly shows that it can sustain the operation of the entity and can maintain the asset into the long term, and that's an outstanding position for netball and football to be in, or to have the opportunity to be in. And we understand that would be different to the current structure in Punawai, but we don't see that as a reason to stop it from proceeding.
Thank you very much to you all. Any further questions from the panel? Look, thank you very much for your time. Very appreciate your presentation, and thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just so we're all aware, the Kevin Simcock was scheduled for 1 o'clock. He can be earlier, so we'll go from. We'll listen to Terry now, Terry Ma now, and then we'll 12:45. We'll go to Kevin Simcock, just so you're all aware. So good morning, Terry.
Yeah, good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon. Yeah, sorry about that. Terry, just to let you know, and what I'll do, you've got 5 minutes, so we'll
Yes.
at the 4-minute mark, I'll let you know you've got 1 minute left if you want questions from the panel. Is that okay?
Yes, okay.
Excellent. So, Terry, we are in your hands.
Right. I'm a resident here in Edenfield, and my place is just across the creek from that those community fields. My thing is just that I feel that the location of, firstly, after hearing the presentations from Netball, from football, I do concede and I do agree with them that the building, the facility will be great for the sport. I do not dispute that at all. It's just the location of the building. I feel that there's still a lot of space on the other side of the athletics track and the hockey fields to locate this building. The other day at the public meeting where I attended to, the developer for this Netball building did say that it is more costly to put the building on the other side simply because the facility, the utilities are closer to Augustine Drive. But then the thing is that for all intents and purposes, this is a commercial development. Surely they must have taken this into consideration. It's part of their planning, part of a contingency plan, that in case they do not get consent to put the building here, there is a cost for the utility to be diverted to the other side or somewhere. Right? So it has all got to be part of their planning. And then, it's a 10,000 square meter facility for Netball for the building itself. But the representative from Christchurch City Council at that public meeting also said that in addition to that, the council is planning to build another 120 car parks to help facilitate this building, this facility here. And what it means is that the space needed is much more than the 10,000 square meters. Yeah. So what happens? As far as I understand it, before the athletics, or before the sports hub was built, when the plan was up, the plan showed that where the Netball building is, those are supposed to be community fields. Now, at this moment, every day you see families taking a walk, grandparents taking the little grandchildren there, letting them run on the fields, just having fun. And I even see, and even when my granddaughters come to visit, I take them there. One is 3-year-old and one is just turning 1, and they just have a run on the field, have a play. And those fields, the size of the fields is just nice to let a few families have a bit of space to themselves. But if we're going to take up, I don't know, 15,000 square meters, maybe, there's not much space left for families to enjoy the community field. So this is community area, I feel. The community just loses on it, residents, and then yeah, this is the main thing that I see. And also, from Augustine Drive, when you drive over the deep bridge into Ngapunawai, okay, now when you go in, you see the green park, the green open fields on the left, and then you look ahead of you, you see the athletics arena, you see the hockey fields. It looks impressive. But with that big building there, looking at the artist's impression of the building.
1 minute, Terry.
Okay, as soon as you go in, you will see a huge building that looks like an industrial building of some kind. It makes Punawai look like an industrial park. You don't see the greenery. It's almost like Hilton Hollage has built a new distribution center smack in the middle of a residential area. And just on Netball, you say that there are 4,000 people come to play. Traffic management is going to be crazy in a residential area. If it's on the other side, it's closer to the Wigram Industrial Park. It's more industrial. Access off Wigram Road in the weekends, it is industrial area. There are not many people. Factories are not working. So, there'll be a lot less traffic. I think my time is up, isn't it? Sorry, there's no sound.
No, that was my mistake. Sorry about that. I'm not perfect.
Yes. That's okay.
Thank you very much
that
for
happens.
your submission and your presentation. And are there any questions from my fellow panel members? Thank you so much for your time this afternoon, and there are no questions at this stage, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll just adjourn for 5 minutes while we wait for Kevin Simcock. Is that okay? Excellent.